opinions expressed on this podcast by the host are solely the host's own opinions. The hosts do not represent the opinions of the producers of this program, who bear no responsibility or liability for the program's content. The purpose of this podcast is intended to inform its listeners about financial planning and investment issues for qualified individuals and investors. The hosts are receiving no compensation in connection with this podcast. Many of the topics and opinions discussed may be of a personal nature, and some people may disagree or find opinions expressed on this program objectionable. Nothing on this podcast should be construed as investment advice or an offer to invest.
Good day, everyone. Welcome to the Financial Freedom Emergency Room podcast. I'm your co-host, Tim Black, and with me, as always, is the passive income physician himself, Thomas Black, MD. How are you, Tom?
Great to be here, Tim, in our new studio.
Look at
This
these
is wonderful.
digs, huh?
Great digs, and we've got a great guest today.
We do. So this is going to be an exciting day for us. This is our very first guest on our show. So, Tom, why don't you introduce our guest?
Gotcha. Mike, great to have you here. This is Mike Pine of Pine Company CPAs. We've known each other, about 4 years now?
Yes.
Went through a number of CPAs before I found the great and wise Mike Pine. Yes. So Mike,
Can you go no further?
No, I'm never going any further. That's what makes this so great. So Mike, great having you here. Really appreciate you making the journey out this morning to sit down with us and talk to our audience a little bit about taxes and kind of how to put ourselves in a better position from a financial standpoint, especially for those healthcare providers out there. So do me a favor if you just kind of tell us a little bit about yourself to educate the audience, and we'll go from there.
Thank you, and I'm honored to be your first guest.
Hey, well, it's a
you might as
long
well
and
start with the
distinguished
best, right?
list.
So thank you. I am a CPA. I've been a CPA for a long 18 years now.
Oh, my.
I started my practice out in California with PricewaterhouseCoopers Venture Capital and Private Equity Group. It was a great place to get my training wheels. It was also a sweatshop, and I couldn't get out of there quick enough. But I spent 5 long years there, and the whole reason I chose accounting was my father was a physician, and he was never home. He was always working. He really wanted to be home with the family, but there was always the emergency calls every night, just seemed like, when he was on call, and he was never home. He was working all the time. So even though a lot of other people in my family chose to go the medical profession route, I chose to go into something I thought would be easier and less time consuming and less all life encompassing. So I chose accounting. And in my first 5 years at PwC, working 120, 130, 140 hour weeks all year round, I realized I made a mistake.
Really?
I started to think so.
At least you didn't spend 15 years in educating yourself and going through residency, though, I guess, huh?
Yeah, that's
But
true.
just
And I
as
didn't
bad.
have
I mean, that was
student loans
basically
like
your
you guys.
residency at PwC, I imagine. With those kind of hours, that's crazy.
It was.
Through, so.
I mean, it paid off. In 5 years, I got like 15 years of really good experience. So
That's one way.
Sounds a little traumatic.
and I learned a lot of good things. So,
So tell me about your dad now. He's still a physician, right?
he just retired.
He did?
He
Okay,
did.
finally.
And he tells me that if he had to do it all over again, he either wouldn't have become a physician.
Really?
He says the last 5-10 years have gotten so ridiculous in the amount of paperwork, the amount of bureaucracy he has to deal with. He just thinks it's the money that people are getting paid now is a lot less when they're starting off.
Sure.
The privatization of these hospitals, like he was at Emory University, and he tells me the starting salary for docs is barely enough to cover your student loan payments.
Right. Yeah,
and
it's an issue, and that's one of the reasons Tim and I started this podcast and started our business, really, which is more of, as you know, is Nepali Capital, is a private equity group for physicians. So tell us a little bit about, I mean, I know having had a family member in healthcare, and he actually, probably didn't recommend you to go into that. If you had 2 things right now that every doctor could do to change, and our listeners out there, what advice would you give somebody, say 3 to 6 years out of residency, maybe they're struggling with those student loans? How do you put yourself in a tax advantage situation?
I wouldn't just say it's a tax advantage. There's plenty of tax advantage situations they could put themselves in, but I would say primarily they need to focus on creating a financial freedom for themselves over the next decade.
Right.
Unless they want to be doing what they're doing right now for the next 20 years, now's the best time to start investing and figuring out ways that they can have their wealth, develop a wealth, and have it work for them. So like you're learning, and you're showing me and a lot of our clients that you could actually get some freedom and still be a doc, and you can start having choices of how much are you going to work.
It makes a huge difference when you can choose to go to work and or work a few less shifts or a couple less days in the hospital and take a nicer vacation. Certainly it helps your mentality.
So Tom, you said early on a couple of minutes ago that it took you a while to find the right CPA.
Oh,
And
yeah.
as a physician, talk through that. Like, you obviously
Yeah.
went through, but why did you land on Mike, and what was the advantage to you as a physician?
So it was just pure luck that I landed on Mike. I think I had been 5 others, I think, during this metamorphosis of, early in real estate investing and starting to form our own companies and things like that, to the realization that a lot of CPAs are very well trained, but some of them don't think creatively. And not that can be, and some people think, a creative CPA, that's kind of a dangerous thing, you'd think. But to me, it wasn't a cookie cutter kind of a situation for me. I wanted somebody that knew me, somebody that was more of that understood the needs, what I was doing, how I was doing it, and was able to partner, rather than me just spitting something out there saying, okay, here's my taxes for this year. Because there's a lot of planning and there's a lot of things that you can do going into that. Say a year, 5 years. I mean, we've gotten to this point now this year that's been fantastic, because when you have depreciation and things like that you're able to offset a lot of your income, and it's not, at the end of the day, it's not how much you make, it's how much you keep.
Right.
So, and Mike is the expert on that. So, it's been an absolute blessing that we've made this partnership. So,
And that's an important distinction, right? I mean, all those doctors that are listening to the show, everybody has a CPA.
Sure.
But really finding that right
A
one,
good one.
a good one,
Right.
and the right one that can help them with their taxes and be creative with them, as you say, is an important part, I think.
I think you guys know the best doctors that can treat their patients the best. They take every case they see and they look at all the individual aspects to
Right.
it. They don't cookie cut every one of their cases.
Right. I mean, it's
we have an
impossible,
18-year-old
right?
kid
Yeah.
in here. We give them the same treatment as we give everyone else. Everyone's got their own situations. Everyone's got their own issues that need to be tackled. And there's a lot of opportunities, thankfully, in my practice, when we make mistakes or don't choose the most optimal choice for our clients, they don't die like
Right.
you guys. So it's a lot stressful for
It
us.
is a little different.
Just get
But
audited by the
Although,
IRS.
although I do know you around April 15th, you're pretty damn stressed. So,
that being said, there's so many. I look at all the individual aspects of our clients as opportunities, not ways to save their life, but great opportunities.
Right.
And depending on how many different things they have going on in their business life and their tax life, there's always neat ways that we can, not always, but almost always
Right.
neat ways that we can find how to improve their tax situation, how to strategize. So instead of just doing tax returns at the end of the year, once everything's been done, actually work with our clients
Right.
and help them figure out ways that if they do this now, they'll save themselves $200,000.
right, it may not be an immediate this year, but it's a planning to say, what are we going to do next year? How are we going to do this? And this goes outside just your normal SEP contributions and things like that. So there's
Right.
all sorts of neat things. One of the things that really cracks me up, and I think about to those docs out there that are listening that will completely get this analogy, is you are, to me, the well-trained internal medicine guy that just knows this wealth of information, can walk into a room and ask a litany of questions and come out with some random, really weird diagnosis, and everybody else is going, "What the hell just happened? I don't know where that guy pulled that from." That's you as a CPA, honestly. That's what I think of.
I hope
You know,
that's
guys
good.
It's a very good thing.
Okay.
It really is. So, tell me what are the, if you had to summarize the biggest mistake, if somebody came in your office, and I know we've got a lot of referrals that have gone in to see you, what would you say is the number one mistake of your clients that make repetitively that's an easy solution? Is there anything that you could say
I think
stop
there's
doing this?
definitely some commonalities amongst physicians.
Right.
I would say there's really two main ones I see. One is the lack of actually trying to build for the future. I mean, they've spent a lot of time, especially the new docs. They spend a lot of time in school, a lot of time in their residencies. They spend a lot of time not making any money, and as soon as they start getting their paycheck, they want to spend it. And I mean, they've got really good at sacrificing economically, and if they could just do that a few more years longer,
You'd
they
set
could
yourself
build up
up
some
a
wealth.
whole lot, right?
And it could change the next 30 years of their life tremendously.
Absolutely, and that even goes for the people that are 10 years out right now, and they're realizing,
Yes.
oh my God, what did I do?
But
I've
there's
got
still
these golden
plenty of time.
handcuffs. There's always time,
Still
right?
plenty of
It's not big maneuvers. It's just the smart maneuvers that you can make, and stop paying people 2% to manage your money
Yes.
when that's going to make a huge difference in 20 years. I mean,
Yes.
we're talking $500,000-$600,000.
Especially as markets get more and more volatile. I mean,
Right.
those investment funds or the market tracking funds out there aren't going to be as great as they've been.
Yep, somebody's
always
making money
downturns.
off of them, and it's probably not you.
Right.
So,
And then the other one that I see a lot with physicians, but all new business members or all new people who are starting a new business, they don't think of tax and accounting, which is good. They shouldn't let tax and accounting tail wag the business dog. They need to think business and think entrepreneurial, but they need to bring someone alongside of them to make sure that they're doing good housekeeping on the tax and accounting side, and they're strategizing on tax.
Absolutely.
Because if you just go to your CPA or H&R Block or even open up TurboTax and try to do your tax return, after January 1st has come around, there's really nothing you can do to change your taxes. You're stuck with whatever was done in the prior year. And there's so many cases where if we would have just done a few different things before January 1st rolled around, we could save tremendous amounts of money. And that's, I don't love seeing that situation
people
over
get too
and
late,
over
right?
again.
You got to plan a little bit. And a little bit of planning goes a long way. I think it's one of the things that we harp on constantly is investing in wealth is a team sport. It's absolutely a team sport. Don't think that you can do it on your own, because you want to surround yourself with the experts in the field, because those are the time, and to pay for them. I mean, they earn a fee because they're providing a dang good service for you, and 9 times out of 10, or 9.95, would you say, times out of 10? I've been blown away. I'm like, wait a minute, I thought I was going to pay this. What happened? You're like, no, this is legitimate. So that to me over the last decade has been the biggest thing, probably more so in the last 4 years, that pay for somebody, pay for good advice, and bring them in and create them as part of your team.
Agreed.
Definitely. So.
And then one other, if I can hit, is I know there's the economics of the hospitals and where doctors are becoming employed kind of set the tone here, but if doctors could be considered self-employed contractors at their companies instead of W-2 employees, it opens up a whole realm of tax planning and opportunity.
Yeah, you know, it seems to be generational. It's funny that there's these ebbs and flows of your 1099 contractors down to W-2. It's a mindset, right? I mean, you've got private equity gobbling up a lot of regional and local hospitals that they want to have that control. They want to put people on W-2. And then some people either they don't have that opportunity or they don't want to. They perceive it as a headache. Yeah, it can be. I mean, it can be a big headache, but as you said, the tax advantage can be just astronomical being able to do it, and you need somebody to be able to navigate those things, because there's a lot more probably that as we go through and colleagues and things talk about. There's really a lot more opportunity there when you have that. So you're absolutely right.
So for most doctor employees in today's marketplace or workplace, do they have an opportunity to go to their employers and say, hey, can we change this to a 1099 situation?
It's regionally and practice specific. Typically you find that you have your democratic groups are usually like that because there's more of an owner mentality. But your big contract management or your hospital employed physicians, those are the ones that really don't offer. So I mean, your dad at a major institution like that has probably never been a democratic kind of a 1099. I don't know how they have it set up.
He was a partner.
Yeah, so he had his own practice outside that. If you're a hospital employee, they just don't. It's just not something. I mean, you think about all those write-offs that you have, whether that's a W-2 taxes, the hospital's going to take advantage of that, right? They're not going to. So when you talk about a large scaling of that and what they're doing, because they're leveraging us as their labor capital, which is fine. That's their business model. So that's one of the things that we try and preach is find that as a physician, find that object that you can go do that. It doesn't mean you have to give up your practice. It just means, hey, there's real estate opportunities, there's oil and gas, there's all sorts of things that you can then be in the driver's seat, and it really changes that, a little bit of autonomy for you, and it can really change your practice around. I mean, and I know several that have, and me as well. So I did have one serious question. So you got your bachelor's in accounting.
Yes.
But you didn't get a master's
until
in
2
accounting.
years later.
But I don't want to know you did those 2 years. That's not the question. A master's of a professional accountancy. Is that real?
Yes.
Accountancy.
It is.
Not a master's in accounting.
It is.
All right. Well, there we go.
There you go.
We were curious.
It's something they came up with.
Accountancy. All right. Is that specific to Montana State?
Well, it includes just No, it's not. You don't see a lot of those degrees anymore.
Really?
But back in 2000.
Well, you got to be a little bit off to go get a master's in accounting, don't you?
No.
Yeah, you definitely do.
You just have to love debits.
All right,
and credits.
and I'll tell you what, you are the guy that loves it. And I'll tell you one quick story. When we first started engaging with you, we were dealing with pre-tax entities and things like that, and you cracked me up because you, out of all the CPAs that I've used, it was really an eye-opener for me about your skill and the intellect and your research capabilities. That the IRS is one way, and the IRS interprets the tax code. You actually went and researched the congressional tax code, and then came up with your own, justification on why it was, and you were contrary to what the IRS, and that's a good thing, because the IRS wouldn't necessarily would say, hey, take the deduction. You're like, guys, this could change at any moment. Not a good idea. And since then, there's some people that really understand tax, and that tide has actually changed. And I know we haven't really talked about this, but that over the last 4 years. Unearned business income tax has become a really hot topic, especially
Nice
in
to
real
be
estate.
right once in a while.
And it is very good to be right, because now I look like a genius. Be like, oh yeah,
And I do too.
Mike, and
Great.
so it's a really good
The
thing.
stars aligned
So,
that one
yeah.
time.
So, Mike, why are you different, right? I mean, I think, we have a CPA working for us in Apollo Capital, and, I have a CPA at home. Why are you different than the average CPA?
My wife, or if I had a psychologist,
no.
could probably answer that the best. But I don't have
Right,
one, so
right.
I'll take a stab at it.
Right.
I think a lot of CPAs, they go into accounting because they just like how all the numbers tie out,
Right.
how all the debits match all the credits. And it's just a fun, for people who love numbers, a fun environment to just keep your head down and buckle down and get numbers and figure them out and make, put together puzzles. I kind of like that. But what I really like is kind of thinking outside of the box, and how do we use these strategies or use these number credit strategies to do something neat, to do something different. So I didn't actually want to be a CPA when I went into college. I wanted to be a businessman. I wanted to be an entrepreneur.
Yep.
And I was looking at all the different options and all the different schools and degree programs, and none of them seemed to fit. Like, they had entrepreneurial classes, but it seemed so ridiculous. Like, I'm not going to learn how to be an entrepreneur with this.
Right.
So I listened and spoke to one of my great mentors, an accounting professor, and I asked him, well, why would I want to choose accounting? He's like, accounting is the science of business. And if you can learn the science of business, then that will help set you up to understand any kind of future businesses out there. So that's why I chose
Well
it.
said.
I think I have more of an entrepreneurial mindset than just an accounting mindset, or maybe they're kind of merged. So I'm not fully an entrepreneur, but yeah, I think that makes me different. I like thinking
Absolutely.
outside of the box.
It's an interesting cross-section.
It is, 'cause-
You're a rare breed, I think.
Totally a rare breed.
Especially in his space. I mean,
No.
accountants are generally boom in a box, right?
It got me in a lot of
Yeah.
trouble at PricewaterhouseCoopers.
Yeah.
So
Really?
they
And
just
not
said,
in
get in your
Montana.
cube, do
Just
your
get in
work.
your cube, crunch
trouble
the
in
numbers.
Montana.
Yes.
Yeah,
and
the biggest thing that I see is you think like an owner, and that's the difference. You think like an owner, and that's everything to investing. You have to think about the end product and work your way backwards. You're not just looking at numbers. You're looking at how to manipulate those numbers to get an end product, and
I think that's
the thing.
important. And at our firm,
Huge.
we've hired a lot of accountants that are very similar to us.
Really?
I mean, really, every accounting firm has this great marketing spiel, right? And we're going to work proactive with you, and we're going to work as your partners. And,
Right.
at all the firms I've been at, and I've been at a few, I've never actually see that come to fruition. So at our firm, we're really trying to do it, and we've done some different things, and you can visit my website and see some videos on how we're trying to be different and really serve that. But we want to truly be partners with our clients.
Right.
We don't just want to do their tax returns or just do their bookkeeping. We want to help them make decisions. We want to help them strategize. And it's a win-win. If we can help our clients grow,
Right.
we're going to grow.
Exactly. Well, on that segue, that's perfect. So, to our listeners out there that will want to get advice or have a call or check out more about who you are, how can they get a hold of you? What's the easiest way?
So the easiest way is go to our website, and there's a link at the bottom, say contact us. Or you can
What is
just,
your website?
What's the website?
the website is www.pinecocpas.com.
Perfect.
PINCOCPAs.com.
No.
Oh, excuse me.
Now, one
P-I-N-E
more time.
as in Pine, CPAS.com.
Gotcha.
There we go. Perfect.
Or you can email info@pinecocpas.com.
And Mike actually helped us do a whiteboard for the Passive Income
did.
Physician
He did.
website. So it's on the passiveincomephysician.com. There's a whiteboard video about halfway down that we worked on for quite a while that really gives a good idea of depreciation and why depreciation helps. So that's one of those big buzzwords for me in investing. And you did a great job.
Can I add something on that? On the
You tell- yeah.
depreciation, as you and I have learned, a lot of people see depreciation, especially investors and physicians, but not just physicians. Any
Right.
normal investor, they hear depreciation, they hear accelerated depreciation, and then they react kind of like I did when I saw calculus in college. Like,
Right.
they just want to run out of the
Right.
room. That's
It's bad.
way
It's
over
a
my
bad
head.
thing.
Can't figure that
Right.
out. It's really simple
And it's the
when you
best
get down
thing
into it.
ever.
Oh, it's amazing.
It's great.
It
Yeah, a
really
lot of
is.
people think depreciation, okay, I just bought my brand new car, I drove it off the lot, it's going to depreciate.
Yes.
Not about that at all. Depreciation is one of the best things about investing.
As a tax benefit, it's
Absolutely.
incredible. And with the new tax law that was just passed this past year, it's even more
Change your
beautiful.
life. Change your life. You can buy you a new swimming pool.
Indeed.
Or a new very fancy car.
There you
right?
go. That's a nice fancy car. Exactly. Well, Tim, you have any other questions for Mr. Mike here?
No, I think this has been great. Thank you so
All right.
much for
Thanks
coming
for
on,
having
being
me.
our inaugural guest.
Really,
Thank
really
you.
appreciate
Yeah,
your
it's
time
been a
fighting
lot
the
of
traffic
fun.
this morning, and hopefully we get some guests to start educating themselves, and it'll be great.
Great.
Perfect.
I look forward to being maybe your, I don't know, anniversarial.
There you go.
Yes,
Podcast.
we're
You
going
can
to
be our
make this
we're gonna-
regular.
Yep, there
Right.
you go. Next year.
Exactly.
All right.
All
Mike,
right,
thank you very
take
much.
care. And thank you for joining us today on the Financial Freedom Emergency Room podcast. As usual, if you have questions, please go to passiveincomephysician.com.